She pointed her finger at him like he was nothing. "Pay the $250,000 or we will take your land." The man did not move. He simply looked at her, calm and steady, holding the papers that proved the truth. The neighborhood she claimed to rule already belonged to him. Marvin Hayes stood quietly against the wooden fence that marked the edge of his family's ranch. His boots pressed into the rich green grass, the kind his father used to say tasted sweeter to the cattle than anything money could buy. He watched a line of police cars idle on the road, their lights glimmering like unwelcome reminders of a world that never respected the soil beneath his feet. In front of them stood a woman in a perfect blue suit, her voice sharp enough to slice through the wind. She waved a folder full of fines and threats, demanding answers. Demanding obedience. Demanding payment. Violation after violation, she shouted, her face red with frustration. Storage buildings, livestock on a residential block, failure to comply with community standards. Pay the fine. $250,000. Marvin remained silent. The wind brushed his jacket. The cattle behind him grazed as if the world were still good and simple. Everyone watching assumed his silence meant defeat. But Marvin knew the truth. Silence was power. The officers watched him with uncertain eyes. Some looked guilty. Some looked uncomfortable. None stepped forward to stop what was happening. The neighbors watched from a distance, too, whispering their assumptions. Assumptions rooted in ignorance. They thought he did not belong. They thought his land was now theirs. They thought the homeowners association ruled here, but they did not know the land story. Years earlier, when Marvin returned from his last military deployment, he did not come home to parades or applause. He came home with a quiet heart and a promise to take care of what his parents left behind. The ranch was old, but the soil was rich, a place where laughter once lived. He remembered morning coffee with his mother, the sound of boots on the porch, his father's hand resting heavy on his shoulder as they looked out at the sunrise. This land held memories. This land held grief. This land held love. So when the city expanded and developers asked to buy the acres around him, Marvin agreed, but with conditions. He would sell only the land he no longer needed, ensuring his ranch remained untouched. He helped build the new neighborhood, the one now known for its fancy mailboxes and strict rules. But even as new homes rose like polished monuments, Marvin remained the quiet heartbeat of this land. And still, they ignored him. They never asked permission before forming the HOA that now claimed power over everything around them. They never checked who actually owned the soil beneath their polished streets. They never imagined that a quiet man in a cowboy hat could hold the deeds that shaped their future. The woman stepped closer, her heels sinking slightly into the soft earth. "You're ignoring legal authority," she snapped. "Either pay the fine or remove your property. This is not farmland anymore." Marvin finally lifted his eyes to hers. His voice was calm, steady like the earth beneath them. "These barns," he said, "have been here longer than your neighborhood." He reached into his jacket and pulled out a folder, old papers with crisp seals and signatures. "If anyone is trespassing," he continued, "it isn't me." The head of the HOA scoffed, calling his statement ridiculous. She insisted that they controlled community rules, that his cattle were a disruption, that his way of life did not fit their plans. but Marvin opened the papers and handed them to the nearest officer. The officer studied them, confusion filling his eyes. They were land deeds, ownership records, legal proof. Marvin had never surrendered the most crucial acres, the acres beneath the entire neighborhood. Every roof, every mailbox, every driveway, all resting on land legally tied to his name. A hush fell over the officers. Some neighbors stepped back, worry replacing judgment. The woman in blue tried to laugh it off, but her voice shook ever so slightly. "This can't be right," she said. Another officer pointed to the seals. The dates, the pages that confirmed the truth. Marvin owned everything. The HOA authority was built on a foundation that never belonged to them. Their rules were powerless here. Marvin spoke softly, but his words carried the weight of 1,000 sunrises over that land. Respect is due before rules are enforced. The woman swallowed hard. Suddenly aware of the crowd watching with wide eyes, he continued, his voice like calm thunder. "You tried to punish me for what belongs to me, but my home will not be erased." The silence that followed was beautiful. Police stepped back toward their cars. Neighbors lowered their heads, realizing the injustice they had supported through silence. Even the woman from the HOA found herself speechless, the papers trembling in her hands. Marvin didn't ask for apologies. He didn't demand repayment. He simply turned and placed the deeds back into his jacket. His cattle continued grazing. The sky remained open and wide, just like his dignity. As the cars rolled away and the crowd dispersed, the message lingered in the air. Quiet power is still power. Land holds memory, and memory holds rights. Marvin stood tall beneath the Texas sun, his heart steady. He thought of his parents. He thought of every sacrifice they made so he could stand here today. His land remained his legacy, his silent victory. No fine could take that from him. No signature could erase what his hands once built. No rule could outrank the truth. Heroes do not always wear uniforms. Sometimes they wear dust-covered boots. Sometimes they win by standing still. Respect is not earned through authority. Respect is earned by honoring the ground that carries us and the quiet strength of those who protect it. If you believe everyone deserves dignity, no matter what they look like or where they come from, share your thoughts in the comments below. Tell us where you're watching from, and join us for more stories that honor silent heroes who stand strong in the face of injustice. Because sometimes, the quietest people own the entire story.